The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, callers, and advisors on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved.
Straight ahead tonight, Golden Gate's Member of Parliament Pia Glover-Roll slamming BPL in an open letter, saying that her constituents are punishing because of ongoing blackouts. A little bit later tonight, we also have a story of the prison officers. Remember them when the group of them were taking a walk, and then there's this stray dog that came by barking and they pulled out their service revolver? You all know what happened next. Well, guess what they did today? They went and they gave the man who owned the dog, apparently, a brand new puppy.
To roam again.
To roam. What a puppy can do?
To roam again.
That is so good. You so good. I hope they gave him some tips as well. Sir, here's how you secure a dog. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you all tuned in this evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight on, of course, last Friday's plane crash. Questions surrounding the legal ramifications that could follow that deadly Independence Day crash are now looming. While some believe the onus is on the pilot, others believe accountability should be placed on the airline. Laurencia Smith discussed these views with an aviation attorney. Here's that story.
Was it a pilot error, mechanical failure, or possible regulatory shortcomings? The answers to these questions could determine the legal direction the deadly Independence Day crash takes. But until the investigation is concluded, even the suggestion remains just that, according to aviation attorney Llewellyn Boyce Cartwright.
Yeah, I mean, it's not yet. You got to go through the stages. And at the end of the day, it does come down to responsibility. So to bring an action would be premature.
According to the Aircraft Accident Investigation Authority, a preliminary report will be released on August 10th and then turned over to the civil authorities to determine whether any penalties are warranted. But Boyce Cartwright says if the investigation uncovers any regulatory shortcomings, there could be legal grounds for further action.
That in the hands of civil litigators in terms of, but there could be reckless endangerment. In other words, the airline was in breach of its duty of care to provide safety.
There are also questions surrounding the rights of passengers that were on the flight. Those protections fall under the International Civil Aviation Organization, according to Boyce Cartwright.
That protects passengers, or rather passenger rights, whether that's death, bodily injury, whether a flight has been delayed or canceled, or whether baggage has been lost or cargo has been lost.
Now, the attorney notes that, yes, this is a very tragic situation. However, he says moving forward, he hopes that greater enforcement and accountability comes out of the aviation sector here in the country. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, this evening, of course, you know, we're going to track this investigation one announcement, one disclosure at a time. You heard the aviation attorney really just sort of giving a broad view of what now is and what's in place, not being very careful not to make any statements on either way because the investigation is new. We got some information from the Aircraft Authority yesterday. In their initial press statement, they expect to make just an official first statement on the crash next month. And so everybody, of course, is being very mindful of what we say. But we're going to jump in right there this evening. There's so much to dissect about this. The attorney raised a number of points, and the fact that ICAO, of which the Bahamas is a member, really protects passengers over anything. There are questions about insurance and whether maybe that may have been breached and so much. But again, where does the blame lie? Or perhaps the several areas in which the blame lies. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Beyond the Headlines contributors, Ellington Ferguson, Glenroy Pratt, Howard Johnson. Good evening to each of you gentlemen.
Good evening, Shanique, and good evening, Bahamas. Thank you for having me, Shanique.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas.
Good evening, Bahamas.
Hi guys. Gentlemen, you all know, of course, this investigation is going to obviously be a very long, thorough, and something that the Bahamas will be keenly watching and paying attention to and obviously observing. You heard the attorney speak on a number of issues, of course mindful not to kind of get out front of the investigation that's now in place. But let's just talk about some of the points that he raised about passenger rights on aircraft, even aircraft as that operates out of, say, general aviation, for example.
Absolutely, Shanique. There's a whole slew of things that he mentioned: death, bodily injury, loss of goods, and all of that. And so I, working in the industry, get to see a lot of that almost every day, with passengers and losing goods and stuff like that. Even in flight delay, the company is obligated to do certain things. Example, put passengers up in hotel where flight have been delayed or canceled, and provide transportation to and from that hotel, provide food, and a slew of things. And so, yes, this whole bill of passenger rights is a very important thing as they meticulously look into this whole incident, or everything that surround the occurrence of this incident, what led up to it. They're going to be looking at maintenance and how the company have operated, not just right there that what happened at the accident, but it's going to try to develop a trail of how this company has been operating, what they may have been doing that could have led to this type of thing happening. Is this a whole systemic problem within this company? Is it isolated to this one aircraft? And so, yes, they got to do a comprehensive look at what's going on with this company, or with whatever subsidiary company that was working with or for this company.
Yeah, obviously there are a lot of things that needs to be hashed out and looked upon, because obviously it had the impact that it had, and unfortunately people lost their lives. The passengers' rights is something that needs to be obviously highlighted. I think far too often, even when and it isn't tailored just to smaller airlines and chartered planes. It's also tailored to some of these large airlines, in particular a national flag carrier, where sometimes you find yourself on a plane for hours on end, and there's no kind of recompense or nothing to satisfy the time that you wasted just sitting there with no explanation. And sometimes you have to deplane and go back on and deplane again, and nobody gives any true explanation and no compensation. And so there needs to be some kind of resolve in these matters in that sense. I just hope that as this whole investigation takes place, that whatever the findings are, that we have the fortitude to put in place what needs to be put in place to avoid this from happening again.
Yeah, Shanique, what's so interesting is that the Bahamas, like many other countries, we're signatories to a lot of these agreements. And the reality of it is that we have the global north and we have the global south. And in the global north, we have those developed countries like the United States and Canada and England and France and stuff. And they can fully abide by these agreements and what they call for. In some of these global south countries in the third world, the reality is they're not well resourced enough to abide by and to be fully compliant with a lot of these agreements that they sign on to. Now, I'm not saying that that is an excuse. You still have, like the attorney said, a duty of care and a responsibility to your traveling passengers and the traveling public. And because there was a shortfall in providing that to these passengers in particular, we've seen a loss of life. And as far as where liability lies, Shanique, we have to wait and see, of course, but we got to look at it from two perspectives. You have the family members who have been deeply impacted, a tragic loss, and very suddenly, and they're emotional. They're filled with anxiety. They want answers. That's a part of the grieving process. And on the other hand, you have those who are not directly impacted, who are thinking rationally and logically, and are saying we have to go through the steps and we have to do this, et cetera, and that's all fine and good. But at the same time, we have to balance both of these realities, and it's just so unfortunate that I know one thing: we can't hold the people liable who have perished. They're not liable. We don't know who's liable yet, but we know that people have perished. They have relatives who are here and hurting, and we need to get the answers.
Absolutely, Howard, and that is the bottom line right there. We need to get the answers, because every passenger who decides to board an aircraft, regardless of where that aircraft is stationed at LPIA and where it is headed, deserve to get there safely and to know and be able to trust the system in place that guarantees to get them safely. Now, we did a daily poll. Absolutely. We did a daily poll today. Of course, we remember yesterday officials revealed a preliminary report and says that it is expected within 30 days from now, and a final report is expected within 12 months on that fatal flight. Investigators say the focus is on determining exactly what caused the tragedy and improving aviation safety. Well, today, our team put the question to you. Regardless of the findings in the preliminary report, what should be the top priority moving forward? 60% of participants voted strengthening aviation safety measures. 26% voted introducing stricter penalties if safety violations are found. 10% of you voted reviewing regulations for smaller aircraft. 4% voted waiting for the final report before making any major changes. And you all, of course, we love to get the views of our viewers and have them have their voices heard. And so that is how Bahamians feel right now as it relates to the Independence Day crash. Well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, Golden Gates MP, Pia Glover-Roll, not mincing words, not mincing words, and very intentional as she calls out BPL for all of the blackouts happening in her area. We talk about that after the break.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel, and I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Uh-oh, luckily it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. They're big enough now to handle your big loads, you know. Yeah, like you can put on your blanket. But just look at us. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh, stop! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes you, processes you, and entertains you 24/7.
Did you know that when you shop at cbsbahamas.com, you can see directly into our vendors' warehouses? What that means is even if we only have a dozen of an item available in store, you can order virtually as many as you want directly from our vendors and have it delivered to your doorstep in just 10 to 14 days. You don't have to worry about shipping, imports, duties, or any of the hard stuff. Our backorder program is unique, and it's only at cbsbahamas.com.
My name is Charles Wesley Gould. My organic farm is Nice Layers Organic Farm. I have 230 birds up here. I give them fresh water, pumpkin, lettuce, cabbages, all the vegetables. Anything what I eat, they eat. Right now, we sell the eggs for $7 a dozen from Monday to Friday. On Saturdays, you can get 4 dozen eggs for $21. I'll be located on Jamaica Road, the western side, Silverstone Primary School.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay eatin' well.
Golden Gate's Member of Parliament Pia Glover-Roll is calling for answers after weeks of power outages affected residents throughout her constituency, she says. In a letter to Bahamas Power and Light executives, Glover-Roll said residents reported losing groceries, enduring extreme heat, and suffering financial losses. Glover-Roll called for an explanation, a repair timeline, and better communication. Well, in response, BPL maintained the outages were caused by faults on a major underground cable leaving the Blue Hills power station. The company says power was fully restored Wednesday morning after repairs, and they apologized for the inconvenience. Now, Glover-Roll is encouraging anyone in her constituency who is still without electricity to contact her office so their case can be investigated. Well, gentlemen, let's jump in right there. Let's just talk about this. We know this has been a summer, it's sort of like none other, quite frankly, in recent time, with all of these outages. And then one of the warmest summers on record ever, anywhere in the world. And other countries are also experiencing electricity issues. But let's just talk about right here. Your thoughts about how Pia Glover-Roll came out swinging? Was this a surprise for anyone? How she just say, "Listen, hold up, man. I don't care what y'all saying, what's going on. Keep the light on. My constituents are suffering." What you got up your sleeve, Glenroy?
Me, I just was saying, you know. That's all I said. You know, listen. I think Pia Glover-Roll, I know her personally, right? And I've had the pleasure of working with Pia over many years in her former life. And I think that she's an astute person, and I think that she has a caring heart. I think her stance is exactly what's needed from members of parliament relative to the people that they serve. You have been elected by the people. Now, obviously, you serve on the pleasure of the Prime Minister, and there is something called collective responsibility, I think, in the cabinet scenario, right? And I know that she may face some flack for her stance. But the reality of it is, when people are suffering, they come first before your appointment. And if you're willing to stand on principle for that reason, I support what she did. In this country, we are paying too much excessive light bills to have power off so frequently. As a matter of fact, as we are on the show now, I see people complaining about their lights being off.
Which areas?
In some areas like South Beach and some other areas, it's unfortunate that this is happening in our country. And obviously this has been a problem for over many years. And this is not tailored to just one government. However, this government has promised us that they were ready and able to accommodate the summer demands. And now we are finding that is not the case, and your people are suffering on a daily basis. And it needs to be rectified, because there's only so much sorry that people can take. You're sorry so much that you are sorry with sores all over your body. It's unfortunate.
Glenn
it's just terrible.
Oh, wow. Ellington, you sitting quiet.
I must say, first of all, I commend Ms. Glover-Roll for her stance on voicing her concerns on behalf of her constituents. I think that's what every member of parliament, that's your first priority. However, I have a serious problem here. What is supposed to be happening in the energy sector, and we've been hearing from the minister that has been speaking to these things and kind of giving reasons as to what's happening. My question is, there seems to be a disconnect, because even though Jobette Colby Davis is the substantive minister, this is a government cabinet situation. What they're doing is Jobette is working based on what they discussed in the cabinet, based on the policies and the direction of the government. You would think that when they have cabinet meeting, all of these things. Every one of them would be a part of these things, would know what's happening. Obviously, there's a disconnect.
Wait a
Minister
minute,
Glover
hold
Rule.
on now. What are you trying to say that Glover Rule
What is
hasn't?
being communicated from Colby Davis as it relates to what the government is doing? Global Role don't seems to be on the same page with that, don't seems to know anything about it. She now wants to know what is really going on. She almost like, give us the truth, please.
Because it seems
Hold
like
on
the
now,
government ain't doing nothing.
And there's a
What do you
disconnect.
mean? What do you
There is a
mean? She
disconnect here.
seems to be trying to ask for the truth.
Yeah, I mean, she wants to know what's happening.
Nothing
Why
but the truth.
is my residence going through this? Somebody, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I would have think that a cabinet minister would have been up to speed with what the government is really doing, what is really happening. As we have heard the minister responsible for energy from time to time come out and kind of sort to explain to the Bahamian people, along with some of the executives who come out from time to time from the BPL. So this is very concerning.
Howard, is Glover Rule just a caring MP, as she has gained a reputation of being? We know that, or is she calling out and trying to shine the I don't know where she can get the spotlight from, but shine the spotlight on her colleague?
Pun intended, spotlight shine.
Shanique,
Spotlight.
It dog though.
Shanique, listen,
That's what I meant.
This is how I look at it, right, Shanique? I don't see why there is the proverbial tightrope that Pia Glover should be walking here. See, in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, right, everybody has that duty of care to their constituents. So I see the robust discussion and argument going on Facebook about the stand that Mrs. Glover Rule took in writing this letter, right? And there's the discussion about, well, she shouldn't have done that because it makes a colleague look bad, et cetera, et cetera. Look, the PLP is a party. The PLP is a government. Pia Glover Rule and Jobette Colby Davis are MPs in said government and cabinet ministers, right? So no matter where you sit, all of you all should care about Bahamians. You see? So this shouldn't be about, well, it looked like you're slapping up Jobette. It looked like you're like you're skirting the line with the collective responsibility thing. No, we shouldn't have to be walking that tightrope, because if Pia Glover Rule, as a representative of the people in Golden Gates, decides to write and express her concerns, that is part of her mandate and her job description to do so. I have an aunt there who's almost 80 in Golden Gates. I got to go and check on her after the show is over, because it just hit me that my grandaunt, my grandfather's baby sister, lives there. And so I'm going to check on her after the show. But why do we have to be worrying about personalities and prime ministers and what the party can say when it comes against the backdrop of doing the right thing? All of you should want the right thing to be done. And now, Shanique, I can say this last thing, right? Because in the last Davis administration, there was a robust discussion and arguments and allegations going on that Mrs. Colby Davis and Miss Pia Glover Rule were having some cat fights, right? That there was some tension and some issues with those two ladies. And so this might be 2.0, right?
No.
This might be the sequel. And Shanique, I can say this though, I can leave it with this. Y'all fellas out there who thinking about getting married, it look like these females with these hyphenated names is the problem. They look like they're getting drama. So let me tell you, if you're getting married, let her keep her last name like the celebrities, or let her take your name, but don't let her hyphenate her name. If the woman hyphenate her name, you're going to have some problems. Let her keep her name like the celebrities.
Howard, so you're trying to say...
It's hot. It's hot.
Howard, you trying to say these accomplished women who have been elected by the Bahamian people and are otherwise accomplished, that because they decide to hyphenate their names, this is where the problem starts?
I just want to go on record. I distance myself from that last part of the statement.
Tongue in cheek. I'm just saying that. I'm saying that to lighten the temperature, to lower the temperature.
The temperature need lowering over here. I tell you that, Howard. The temperature need lowering over here.
I want my power on, so any high-powered female inside DPL, please keep my power
Keep your name. However you want to call your name, you keep your name.
Honestly, yeah. I think that even though when I hear Howard talking about Mrs. Glover Rule wanting to stand for her residents, but I would think that as a collective body of cabinet members, she should have been able to have discussion and explain to her constituents what is really going on. But obviously, it appears that she doesn't know what's going on, so she must write on behalf of herself and her constituents what is going on.
Yeah, but
And I
see,
think
on the
another
backdrop-
thing quickly,
Yeah.
Shanique, you know, the thing is, what could have happened? See, we got to remember too, in cabinet, there's secrecy and collective responsibility. Whatever Mrs. Glover Rhodes said in cabinet, whatever she discussed with her colleagues in cabinet or the prime minister and those concerns, those things are under the veil. They cannot be discussed, and she cannot publicly go and discuss them. But what she can do as a representative, because she wears two hats, and this is why I was talking about the tightrope. She wears the cabinet minister hat, and she also wears the representative hat. And so this is my concern. Why do we have to walk this tightrope? There should be some way that we can come together and make these things simple for our people to understand and to know that we're going to be responsible for them, we're going to take care of them, and we're going to take care of their needs. The ministers that are on the show, see, nobody is playing, look, I've been playing no politics. I was on the show that night when Minister Colby Davis said that generation is going to meet demand this summer. Those were her words. No one forced her to say that. No one held a gun at her head on your show, Shanique, with you, to say we have enough generation to meet demand and capacity this summer. So we have to hold you accountable based on that.
Yes,
Exactly.
So, you know, Glover Roll also asked about communication, and she feels as though perhaps the public isn't being communicated with
That's exactly
as they should be. Just to listen, you people get more vexed because they have no idea of what's happening. Only thing they know, the power's been shut off, and so
Exactly.
perhaps that can be improved.
And in the absence of information, assumptions take control. And the fact is that there's been a lack of information flow that needed to happen to the Bahamian people. And in cases where the information came across, it wasn't sufficient enough to satisfy the need that people have. And you're talking about this you're putting out a communication about this excessive heat wave, stay inside the house. But for God's sake, if you're staying in the house and the power off, what the hell you staying in the house for? The fact is we need this problem resolved, and we need it resolved fast and quick. And the fact is we need some attention to this. We cannot no longer have words and flowery promises and anything like that. We need resolution, and we need it today.
I'll tell you this before we move to the next story, which I know y'all will just go wild over. Thank you to this wonderful viewer. Howard, I want you to listen up to this and intently, you in particular. Thank you very much. Says, my wife has a hyphenated name, and she is a humble, God-fearing woman. So tell Howard to relax a little bit. She uses that name because there are others with her name for legal purposes. Listen, let the woman.
He set it up for the night.
Bahamas, I just want y'all to know I was only kidding. I just wanted to bring that temperature down literally and figuratively this evening on the show.
Well,
so,
speaking,
you know, yeah.
Speaking of temperature, listen, it's simmering in this regard right here. The debate over bringing 300 foreign teachers to the Bahamas is intensifying. Education Minister Chester Cooper is defending the plan, insisting Bahamian teachers will always get first priority and that the recruitment is aimed at filling critical shortages. But the Bahamas Union of Teachers says it was left out of the process and is threatening industrial action. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Keenan Johnson, Senator, spoke about this here on the show on Monday. Teachers.
So let me give you the short answer as to whether we entered into an agreement. The answer to that is no. What it's important to understand is context. I think that it was important for me to come on the show to give some clarification and to speak to a bit of contextual facts, given the fact that if we recall, when the Deputy Prime Minister spoke in the House and gave his budget contribution, he advised that he had assigned me to lead a task force to deal with the teacher shortage. And so we hit the ground running with that. That was the end of May. We met with all of the unions. We met with the University of the Bahamas. Our first action was to find out exactly how many teachers we can get from the University of the Bahamas. In other words, how many teachers were actually graduating through the education program at the University of the Bahamas.
Wait,
so I just want to give context. So
I understand, Senator.
So
you're going fast. So the first answer is no. You have not. There is no 300 teachers waiting to board a flight to get here in the Bahamas from Ghana.
We are in discussions with Ghana as we are in discussions with a few other countries.
Listen, of course, that was Monday evening here. He did say, though, in another clip and a portion of that show, that no, the Bahamas government has not entered an agreement with the government of Ghana to bring 300 Ghanaian teachers here to Bahamas, but that they are, and you all saw today in the papers, Education Minister Chester Cooper says, yes, they are looking for teachers from many countries to fill much vacancies that must be filled well in advance of the new school year. Your thoughts, guys, on how this has become a whole big row?
Well, this has become a big row because the union have a right to stand up for its members, and they have a right to stand when they have feelings of them being disregarded and disrespected. There are several things at play here. If you would look at what Belinda Wilson stated, she talked about the fact that they were in negotiation for over 10 months. There seemed to have been a dragging of feet. There are individual teachers who have been owed monies from their services that they've rendered. You also have teachers who have been owed rent allowance, and they have not been given their rent allowance. So that means that they have to come out of pocket to secure the place that they're currently living, where they were probably sent to actually reside. And so when you have these types of scenarios, you will have the kind of pushback, coupled with the fact that you're bringing in 300 teachers that needs to work alongside the existing teachers. And you need to have a harmonious scenario when you have these teachers come into the country. And the fact is, if you're going to disrespect the union in such a way, when they are owed monies and you're seemingly expediting the process of paying these individuals as they're coming in, because again, the lack of information causes a lot of assumptions and everything else to arise because the failure of providing the details have caused this kind of issue. And the other thing I want to point out is this. Somebody needs to explain then why in God's name you have all these newsletter or news media stations inside Africa who's touting about how the Bahamas is bringing in over 300 Ghanaians to work in their educational system.
Well, you saw what the Minister of Foreign Affairs did, who was here for independence celebrations, I guess, at the invitation of the government, official visit. But he decided he would go ahead and post on his Facebook page about this.
Because he probably was promised. See, nobody's going to make a bold statement like that unless they were promised. The fact that he was also here. There's also a coupling of another scenario here. We have all these deals now with Africa. And in the same vein, in my view, as China operates, if you're borrowing money from China, you have to use their labor, you have to use their material, and so on. So if you're borrowing money from Africa in a corporate global sense, then you have to use certain services and certain things that you have to acquiesce based on what the demands are. And so the fact is here, in this country, foreigners sometimes, and no fault of them, and don't get me wrong, I support the fact that if we're going to be able to have teachers, let's have them. Because I've had foreign teachers in my life coming up through high school and primary school and so on. But the fact is we have to do things properly, and that's where we fail in this country too often. Far too often, Bahamians are put on the back burner when expatriates are taken care of, and they're given far more benefits than the actual Bahamian, who have to, in some cases, train them and get them acclimated and all the other stuff. So just be fair in our execution.
They have to train teachers, Glenroy?
No,
Ellington, your thoughts? Your thoughts, Glenroy? Ellington.
I think our teachers are to be paid whatever is owed to them. I've heard in numerous years in the past, our teachers are not getting their housing allowance and other allowances. I've heard those teachers not getting other payments that is due to them. I heard teachers not collecting their pensions on time. I've heard almost annually, if not annually, come September, teachers complaining about the workload, the things they have to do, the crowded classroom, they don't have sufficient teachers. We've heard about islands, a lot of our family island schools are without teachers. As a matter of fact, on Auckland, some of our teachers, our students were being taught via Zoom. And so while there are a myriad of issues, I don't think we should abandon one while we deal with the others. And yes, the government and the union is presently in negotiating, and those things needs to be done. I'm hopefully that both sides continue to negotiate in good faith. But we can't wait till September again and the teachers complain again that they are overloaded because we have a shortage of teachers and students in our far-flung islands are not being properly serviced. I think we can chew gum and walk at the same time. Let's continue on with our negotiations. Let's get the teachers from wherever we can, and let's make sure that our students have the kind of teachers in the classroom and teachers are getting what is
Howard, you have the first word when we come back after the break. This is Beyond the Headlines. Stay exactly where you are. We're back after this.
It is the common behavior. Once something becomes the common behavior, it is the common behavior. When you operate at that level, personal emotions simply cannot float to the top.
For the average normal person that goes to the store, things like that affect us.
They must be judicious in the execution of their duty.
Well, I think whatever the nurses want, give it to them.
Pages,
You know, you do everything on your phone now. You see how old he is?
What are we walking back? That Bimini is no longer an island?
That's
okay,
not
because
what he was trying to
he also
say. Well, I don't even know what Red Basket anymore either. What do y'all people say?
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At InvestStar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
We all know there are ways we can help. Your help can go even further. Be an everyday superhero. Donate to Hands for Hunger.
Just before the break, we were talking about the 300 teachers, the deficit of 300 teachers every year. For decades, really, it's been this cry of teacher shortages. And this new Minister of Education, as you all have been seeing him do for the last several weeks, has been talking about the shortage and asking Bahamians to come forward. Now we heard this African Minister of Foreign Affairs go and announce and say, listen, get ready, guys. Africa coming to the Bahamas. Howard, but you have heard, I just made light, I don't know if it's a good joke or not, but the point is you understand what it is. And has many people talking and many people obviously with varying views. Some just saying, listen, that's fine, fill the vacancies, but just communicate with the stakeholders. Your thoughts, Howard?
Yeah, well, Shanique, there are so many moving parts to this particular issue, and some of them are really adjacent to the main issue. So there's a 300 teacher shortage, right? And we're talking about Mrs. Wilson and her union being in an uproar over the allegations that all of them are going to be sourced from Ghana. Well, listen, even if Ms. Wilson knows that to be true or not, that can be a negotiating tactic on her part. Mrs. Wilson is a seasoned union leader, okay? And sometimes by convoluting the two, you can leverage that as a negotiating tactic for when you go to the table. So that could very well be the case. And I don't blame her for doing that because, hey, it ain't only the politicians who know how to play politics. You got to do what you got to do for your members. That's number one. And then number two, we have the good gentleman from Ghana who came over, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, right? And, you know, we hosted him. And of course, I know the Bahamas government showed him a good time. And as the Bahamian rake and scrape song go, you know, you then eat up all the food and drink up all the rum. He came and had a good time, and then you go back and you politically headshot the government of the Bahamas with that particular post on social media. Now, Glenroy, my brother, whether he had a verbal agreement or not, he should not have done that. That is not the way that you handle diplomacy. And I don't believe it was, because when I looked at Mr. Johnson, Keenan Johnson, whom I know very well, my fellow Lutheran, when I look at Mr. Johnson on the show with Miss Miller the other night being interviewed, Mr. Johnson didn't have a script. He wasn't feeling for words. I believe what he said as far as what those facts are and what they were doing and what they had in place and what they were working on. However, the issue is the lack of communication. We have seen time and time again, this government, my government, who I want to succeed because it's the government of the Bahamas and I have a Bahamian passport. This is my government. I want them to succeed. But we've seen from the last administration to this one, the PLP government making some unforced errors that could have been avoided. Remember the asylum bill? Had to scrap that because Mr. Monroe came on and said, well, we didn't think it was going to be such an uproar. Listen, you have to go out and communicate. The Ghanaian foreign minister communicated something that shouldn't have been communicated, whether it was true or not. You got to get out in front. Everything that Mr. Johnson said on your show 2 nights ago, Shanique, should have been said prior to the Ghanaian foreign minister going to social media. Communicate. Let the people know what's going on. And guess what? Last thing. The pay for the teachers. I want them to have that. My mother, who recently passed, God rest her soul, was a teacher for 47 years, a principal for 27, and a classroom teacher for 20. I know I grew up under a roof with teacher pay shortage, okay? So let's get that straight. However, paying the teachers and the need for 300 teachers are separate issues. We still need the teachers. And I do not believe for 1 minute that there are 300 teachers, that Bahamian teachers, that can be found to staff the shortage that we have at this time. However, I want the Bahamian teachers that are there, that are able to fill those vacancies, to get first preference, and then we source from other places.
Well, gentlemen, I need to move, Glenroy, I have to move the show forward. For months, the silence left behind by the loss of a dog killed by prison officers has been a battle, but now the road to healing for the owner can begin. Linton Ritchie Jr. brings us up to date on the story.
Heartbreak gave way to hope on Monday for 92-year-old Bahamian music legend Duke Errol Strawn, months after his beloved dog Trump was fatally shot by a Bahamas Department of Correctional Services officer. BDOC's officers returned with a new puppy, an effort to begin repairing the pain left behind.
Yeah, I'm quite satisfied. Mr. Clare did a good job.
Meet Lassie, a 4-month-old Dutch Shepherd dropped off at Strawn's Soldier Road residence as a peace offering. The dog lover telling Eyewitness News following the incident in March, negotiations ended up with him taking a monetary settlement and the new puppy. During a procession for retired officer Andrew Sayers in March, correctional officers with leashed dogs were walking past Strawn's home when 2 dogs began barking and approached. One officer, who shockingly had his handgun already drawn, quickly discharged his weapon, killing the animal with a single shot.
I didn't see no reason for them shooting the dog for barking at their dog. That's all it was doing. It wasn't attacking the people at all. It was barking at their dog. But the officer just trigger happy and shooting.
Although months have passed, Strawn said the pain only grew as he shared a special bond with the dog.
I trained him myself, brought him up from small, like 3 months old, and he was very fond of me. very close to me.
With Lassie now settling in, Strawn says he does believe the sorrow expressed by BDOC's officials were genuine. However, he took grave exception to individuals who saw nothing wrong with the incident.
Oh, no, it's never just a dog. It's what the dog mean to you.
Well, Strawn says there's lots of yard for his new pup to make home, and he's elated for her to join his family. In a statement posted, BDOC's officials say they were glad to bring relief and peace to such a tragic situation. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Well, you all, I see Lassie has a leash there. I hope that leash stays on him and that it's actually tied to something. Your thoughts on this, I guess, human side to the prison?
It's a good story, and I know they mean well by providing the animal to the good gentleman there. And it's unfortunate that his dog was lost in the last incident. But it doesn't seem as if the yard is secured enough to keep this particular dog safe. And I'm hoping that there are some areas of being secured for the dog, that this dog don't find itself chasing after individuals and throwing garbage down and the likes and all this other stuff. But it's a good gesture, and I just hope that at the end of the day that a lesson is learned, and people are protected as a result of what transpired.
Shanique, I'm not sure how much of a good gesture I want to refer to this. I have.
Who let the dogs out?
And I'm gonna tell you. See, because no longer than about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I was viciously attacked by a group of dogs right through my corner.
Oh, really?
I mean, and I was trying to fend them off, and they were coming at me. I just, thank God I was nobody else. I was able to stand up and kind of face them. Wow. But they was coming and coming and coming. And to just, it's a serious issue, man. Some of these dogs can get very vicious for whatever reason. When these people got 4 and 5 dogs, especially when they're in packs, they really attack you. Okay? And so it could be a little child walking, a youngster, or it could be a lady walking the road. The yard still is unfenced. Should you take a ban through that corner now, like it was on that particular day when his dog was shot, you're going to have that again, because don't forget, it wasn't one dog, it was a whole group of dogs. One got killed, now they replaced that one. I'm not sure that's the correct gesture, unless they're going to teach people to properly secure their property, to keep their pet secured. If your property is not fenced or walled in, the pet is supposed to be tied. Responsibility, man.
I hope they pick that up and make that
the
a campaign.
Man in the road that was mauled the other day, Shanique.
Yes, oh my God.
And that happened after that incident.
Yes, it did. Prison officers, you all thought this through? How would I want to know if they thought it through? Because they figure, let's just make amends here and put a smile on this man's face.
Put a fence, give them out a fence.
How about build a fence? Howard, your thoughts?
So, Shanique, for me, it's, on one side, it's very touching and heartwarming to see that kind gesture being done for the elderly gentleman. The dog is small at this time and it looks nice, and he seems to be very happy at the gesture. But at the end of the day, the reality remains that this gentleman is a senior, he is elderly, and that dog is not going to remain that size for very long. And so managing that pup, as it looks now, like a pup, when it becomes a fully grown dog, it's going to be another matter. And while this dog is getting bigger, this senior gentleman is getting older as well. And so those are some of the concerns that I have, despite, the feel-good gestures of the humanist story that's played out here. You still have to have concerns about what happens when the dog gets bigger.
Absolutely, because a stray dog, this is a huge stray dog problem, not just here only in New Providence, but really across the nation. It is a problem that must be addressed, and Bahamians must learn, when you have your one dog, that's your responsibility. Take care of it. It's supposed to be fenced in and obviously kept in a cool place and fed and given fresh water, all of it. They can't be roaming about looking for water and for food and the rest of it, and also being a nuisance. There are people who exercise and walk daily, and they have to walk with sticks and whatever else it is, hoping not to be attacked, as you said, Ellington, by packs of dogs. who just roam about and allowed to do that. And so be responsible, Bahamas. How about that? How about that? Gentlemen, I thank you all so much. It's been awesome hanging out with each of you for this hour. You all were spot on and always opinionated and never afraid to express those opinions. Thank you very much, Ellington, Glenroy, Howard. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening. It's certainly been a pleasure having you along, and I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.